you know.
That's good.
Can kind of move around a little. Welcome back to another edition of Airdrie Inside. I'm your host, Chris Glass, and I am here with the Western Canadian kickboxing champion, Damion Smith. Damion, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. So this is your first time on a podcast or any kind of format like this. How are you feeling?
I'm excited about it, honestly.
Good. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? What brought you to Airdrie?
I grew up in Calgary.
Yeah.
All over Calgary. I moved around a lot growing up, and eventually we just didn't have anywhere else to go in Calgary, and we ended up moving here when I was about 14. So, yeah.
So I have to ask this question because I had a run of Burt Church students on my podcast, and I want to make sure that wasn't you. What high school did you go to here?
I went to Croxford.
Croxford. Okay. Yeah. So Croxford, you've now joined the conversation. It's my first Croxford guest, but still shout out George Mack. Okay. So you moved here when you were 14. How did you get into fighting?
I remember my mom put me in this gym when I was about 15. It lasted for a week or so. But I remember the coach here, Lewis, telling me, you have what it takes to fight. And I kind of wrote it off. And then a couple years went by, and I didn't really like what I was doing with my life or how things were going. And I remember watching the UFC, right? And I was like, Lewis came to my mind.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I want to do that. So I came back to the gym, and I was like, yeah, I want to fight. Right? He's like, are you sure? Like, come on, do a trial. Come on, and I was like, no, I want to fight. And I've been here since.
Yeah. It's funny that switch that goes on, because it was a similar experience for me, not a championship experience or anything like that, but similar experience in the way that when you decide that you're going to try this, it's a switch. It just flicks on and you're like, okay, I'm all in now.
Yep.
Okay, so I've read some interviews that you've given where you've credited Muay Thai with saving your life. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that.
Well, I grew up around a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, like addiction, abuse, mental health, all of those things.
Right.
And I just found myself going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
Jails, institutions, rehabs, all of that. So when I found this, it was that thing that was able to pull me out of all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So fighting became kind of where you were, right? But, So how did it start? So when you came back to the gym, you saw that UFC moment, and Crew Lewis was here for you. Walk me through the journey.
Like from when I was about 17 when I started. Yeah. It was definitely very hard. I came in and right away kind of threw me to the wolves.
Right.
It was hard. I got beat up a lot here. Yeah. But it was what I wanted, and I enjoyed it. So I don't know. I just kind of stuck with it.
So you get thrown into the wolves, and then most people start out taking classes, train a little bit more, go to a tournament. Was that the path you took as well?
Well, COVID kind of happened.
Yeah.
So that was rough. I mean, from 17, I didn't compete till I was about 19 for the first time. I did my first tournament at 19. And then shortly after, I only did one tournament. And then after that, I had my first ring fight. Modified rules, Muay Thai.
Right.
And then after that, I had my first full rules fight against.
So you went from tournament to Muay Thai
to fight
3.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then since then, my third or second fight, second fight was full rules. And then from there, I've just been fighting. So
how was that first tournament? Because I've been through that experience. I haven't had the in-ring fight yet, but that first tournament, I found I never breathed the whole time.
Yeah.
I just kind of held my breath and swung for the fences. But walk me through how that was. How was your nerves?
I mean, it was my first time competing or anything. I didn't know what to expect or what it was like at all. So yeah, it was kind of crazy with the nerves and the adrenaline. And the fights were crazy too. It was just all, go. So
right. Now, you're a very patient fighter. Like when I watch you fight, you pick your moments to attack. You don't seem to get panicked or flustered. Where does that come from?
I feel like part of it is learned just from ring experience, but I also feel like part of it is just life too.
Yeah.
Right? Just being through a lot in life. Yeah.
So not letting those moments get the best of you kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like that, yeah.
Okay. And so talk to me about your last fight, because I've heard it was one of the most exciting fights in this gym's history. Most of the time you're walking into a situation where this is home court and everybody in the building is cheering for the hometown fighter. And that wasn't the case this time.
I feel like a lot of people are actually against me. Yeah, a lot of people. Like there was a lot of people here, but a lot of gyms came here and they were rooting for me to go down.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, gyms come to these events. So it's not just local Airdrie residents. It's Team Smandich, it's Team Michael Miles sometimes that come to this gym and watch the fights, and that can change the dynamic of the crowd. So, okay. So you're in the Lion's Den, you have a lot of people cheering against you. How did the fight start? And first of all, who were you fighting? I
was fighting Jarek from Team Smandich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a very established gym, a very established fighter. Okay, and walk me through the fight.
It's a little all over the place, but I just remember, I walk out, I take my moment, I get to the ring, I seal, I do my white crew, right? And I think my favorite moment in the ring sometimes is right before you guys fight. He's in his corner, I'm in his corner, and we're across from each other, and we're ready, and I think that's one of the most exciting moments.
Right.
And so I just remember meeting him in the corner or in the middle, right? We touch, we go back. It's right before we fight. And I just remember like that first kick he threw. It really threw me off actually, because he kicked me, he kicked hard, but he did the complete opposite of what I expected him to do.
So now you have a game plan and it's immediately changed.
Gone right away.
Wow.
Right. Second we start fighting, gone. Right, because I know Jarek, he's a very heavy puncher and he's got very hard hands, but he starts kicking me and now he's forcing me, to play his game.
Yeah,
right.
To change everything.
So, yeah, it was a little bit. It threw me off.
How did you handle adjusting to that during the fight?
Well, it's hard to remember how it went, or like, but. I just remember like the first round, it was kind of, I wouldn't say one-sided, but it took me a little bit to kind of start to figure it out. But I think it was just a patience thing.
Well, and like I said, one thing I really noticed about, I haven't sparred with you a lot, but when I have, I've noticed how patient and how kind of slow everything is for you. Mm-hmm. Not your speed, but the fight itself starts to slow down. Mm-hmm. When you got into the championship rounds, did that work in your favor?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, even early on, my coach Lewis, right? He's told me that I'm a slow starter. You know, I need a little bit, like those 3-round fights don't always go in my favor because I need that extra time to start to pick up. Yeah.
So, and then in the 5th round, you have 2 minutes. You're leaving it up to the judges. And what happened?
So the 5th round was actually the round that was probably my favorite the most.
Yeah.
Because in the 3rd round, I got 8 counted, which has actually never happened to me in a fight before. So I get counted, and then round 5 comes, and I was able to give him a count, which, put me ahead. And then I actually gave him another one right after. So that just kind of sealed it for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
With all the challenges in a fight, like, and you talked a little bit about your upbringing and how challenging that was. Do you see similarities between the fight game and kind of having a rough background?
Yeah, fighting is hard and it's definitely not a game. But I think because of the way that I came up and life has been for me, it's an environment where I thrive. I kind of thrive in that chaotic, unknown situation. Yeah. So I've definitely found myself with fighting.
You mentioned one of your favorite parts about being in the ring is just before just before the fight happens. A lot of people think of mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, kickboxing as extremely violent or, kind of bare knuckle brawls and that kind of thing. But one of the things I love about Muay Thai is watching the ceiling of the ring, watching the Y crew. For those of you people who are listening who may not know the traditions, what are those? Can you walk me through what they mean? Why does a Muay Thai fighter seal the ring?
So I'm kind of I think the Thais, I don't know for sure, but I think the Thais kind of believe like the spirits, you're stealing the bad spirits out and stuff. And then when I'm doing my Y crew, it's kind of a crazy way to think about it, but I like to think of it as like, it's my gym signature, so I'm just kind of, I'm doing my gym's dance, I guess.
So, and for those who don't know, so you're in the middle of the ring and you're doing, like you said, a dance.
Yeah.
But it's stretching, it's showing your flexibility, and it's to Thai music.
And not just that, but like it's kind of nerve-wracking at first when you very first do it, but I'm taking that time to get completely comfortable in the ring. Yeah. All eyes are on me. We were just upstairs warming up right before we come out, and I'm taking my sweet time. I'm showing off to everybody, and my opponent's sitting there getting cold, right? And I'm owning the moment, right? So I actually really like it for that.
Yeah, and then you come out, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go to war.
Yeah, and I take my sweet time with them too. So
yeah, I DJ a lot of the cards, and I had to loop the music twice for you in the past. So that's kind of fun. So you've had a lot of success. So talk to me about your success. So you're the Western champion at 159. Tell me about your wins. Tell me about your success here. Because a lot of people in Airdrie don't know that we have champions in the city, like actual world champions, Western champions, Canadian champions here in our town. So let's talk about your wins. Brag about yourself.
Well, this title is my first title. And I worked very, very hard for it, obviously. I mean, as any champion has. I remember... This is actually a loss, but I remember my first title fight in Seattle, and it was for an American regional kickboxing title. And I lost that fight, and it really crushed me, actually. And I needed it, but it was very hard. But it definitely drove me to kind of push that extra push for that next one.
And then you have it's not just showing up into the ring. So you start your camp and then you end in the ring. What is camp like?
At first, when you're new to fighting, camp it sucks. It affects your sex life. It affects your diet. It affects, you're at the gym all the time. You have no time for anything else, so it can suck. But when you live that lifestyle, it kind of just becomes normal. Like, I don't even feel like I'm in fight camp anymore.
Right. It just becomes what you do.
Becomes normal.
So this title was fought at 159. What weight do you walk around at normally?
About 170 to 175 usually.
So we're cutting 15 pounds on the week of fight.
And before that, more. I think the most I've ever fought or cut for a fight was about 23 pounds. 23
pounds. So how in the world do you lose 23 pounds in a week?
So my last fight, I did it with a nutritionist. Okay. For the first time, I did it with a professional, and it was a lifesaver. But most of the time, I just deplete myself and starve myself, which is actually really bad for you. But that's usually what I do.
So when you're going through it properly with your nutritionist, what does it look like? So can you eat normally? Where does it come from?
So depending on like what my training is like and where we are in the fight camp, I've got a certain meal plan and I'm following that. With the nutritionist, it was kind of crazy because I was eating a lot of food.
Yeah.
And for the week of fight camp, it didn't feel like the week of fight camp. I was actually eating more than I'd ever eaten that week. So, and I was losing like a lot. I think I only cut about 6 pounds of water.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And then the last day is the saunas,
yeah. So like before the fight, usually the Thursday, if it's day before weigh-ins, I'm cutting, because I work here at the gym.
Yeah.
So usually I'll ask like, hey, can I go? Right? Yeah, go cut. And then from like 4 p.m. till about sometimes 12 or 1 in the morning, I'm just in hot baths.
Oh,
right?
wow.
No water, no food, right? I'm chewing gum, I'm spitting, just completely depleting myself. Yeah, that's usually.
And then you make weight, and then somebody immediately hands you a Gatorade.
And then I make weight, and I've got all the fluids back in me, and I'm trying to eat. I got to be really careful with that too, because I've actually made myself like really sick. Like eat half a shawarma really quick, and I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Now, before we get into the fight that's coming up in Ottawa, which I think is really exciting, I want to talk a little bit about your work here at the gym, because I've seen you not only excel in the ring, but I've seen you excel as a teacher and be working with young kids getting into the sport. Talk to me about that and that experience.
I think it's really interesting. I didn't ever see myself teaching necessarily. It kind of just happened.
Yeah.
But I'm really grateful for it. I think it makes me a better fighter, for one, and for two, it's really cool to see like when a kid really wants to, and they do, you kind of take a little bit of responsibility for,
right,
teaching them something cool, right? It's really gratifying.
So you get to see that kid learn from you and become bigger than you thought.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So how often do you teach here?
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah, every day.
So this is 24/7 world for you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, talking about Ottawa now, talking to the future. So what's coming up in Ottawa?
So I'm fighting on, I think it's West Side Muay Thai's card. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But I'm fighting one of their guys. I don't really know much about my opponent at this time. I haven't seen any videos of him fighting or anything. All I know is that I'm fighting on the 5th, so I'm just kind of getting ready for that.
Okay, and what's that for?
That's not for anything.
Not for anything.
No.
That's just in the nation's capital.
It's just another fight.
That's great.
But for the first time, I'm fighting 3 3s.
Okay.
So
and instead of the 3 2s or the 5
2s. Yeah.
So what changes? What changes with the strategy for the extra time?
I think it's actually a benefit. I have more time to work and implement, whatever I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you don't seem to gas out in the ring very much. Like your cardio, I think, separates you from a lot of your opponents. Is that natural, or how do you work at your cardio? How do you craft that?
I don't know if I've always been very athletic.
Yeah.
So maybe, but we hit a lot of pads here, and we do our runs. And me personally, I like to do the sprints on the bike. I mean, it sucks, and I'm on the floor dead after, but
yeah.
That's one thing that I really like to do. I'll just go like 10 minutes straight on the bike, doing my sprints, 10 seconds on, 20 seconds rest, and I just give it as much as I can.
Excellent. And then for the trial by fire coming up, you're going to be on that card as well.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. Do we have an opponent yet, or?
No, I don't have an opponent yet. I don't know much about it. I'm kind of just focused on this fight, and then whatever happens later happens.
Of course.
Whatever they give me. So
in Ottawa, you fly in. When do you fly in? You fly in on the Wednesday or the Thursday, or
probably the Thursday we'll leave.
So while you're trying to make weight, while you're trying to cut, you're also getting on a plane, going through the airport. That adds an extra wrinkle to it, does it not?
It does. Yeah. It's harder. It's a lot harder. And you hold weight too when you fly.
Yeah, of course.
So it does make it a little bit harder. And we're not at home anymore, so sometimes cutting weight can be a little bit more tricky too. We're running around looking for a sauna, or like trying to go to the store to buy a big bag of Epsom salts in this little bath that doesn't work or something, right? So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes. But
that's just part of the fight game.
Yeah.
So that's the fight side of Damion. Tell me a bit more about you away from the gym, right? Because people see you as a fighter, they see you as a teacher. What should we know about you behind the scenes?
I have a huge family.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I come from a really big family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many brothers, how many sisters?
I've got 4 younger siblings, 2 brothers, and then 2 younger sisters.
Wow.
Yeah. And then 2 half siblings, but I'm not close with them.
So you're the oldest of that?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So do they look to you for guidance, or?
It's hard sometimes because I've gone a different route, but they're still kind of in their thing. And so I try a lot, but I think sometimes they just need to do that on their own.
Yeah, everybody's got their own journey, and everybody's got to find their own path. Yeah. But you being able to show that path must be an inspiration for, if not them, the kids watching you at the gym, knowing that, like Muay Thai is a sport that has room for everybody. It's not a sport that's an elitist sport. You don't need to spend $2,000 on a fancy hockey stick. It's a sport for everybody. And because of that, you get backgrounds from people who may not have the money or the support structure. Right. So, to me, that's one of the things I love about Muay Thai is when I learned it, I was a 36-year-old man who's never been punched in the face. I went through my whole life never getting into a fight. And then all of a sudden there I am on a Wednesday getting hit in the face by Austin and Anthony repetitively and not being able to block them at all. It was quite fun. It also has room for somebody with your background that could have gone down a different path. What advice do you have for kids that are struggling in your position? Right, because you seem to have pulled yourself out of the fire here.
I really wanted it. I had a lot of people around me that I was able to look at and realize like this isn't what I want. But I feel like if you really want it, anything's possible. Yeah.
Now, talk to me a little bit about the gym here, right? Talk to me about Crew Lewis and Crew Vanessa.
They're awesome. I love them. You know what I mean? Like I look at them like my family. They've been there for me so many times through highs and lows. All I can really say is that I love them. Honestly.
You love them. Yeah. I'm a huge fan too. I think of what they've taught me about myself personally. Like I said, never being punched in the face. You don't know what you do in that situation. Now I do. And they really gave me that gift. So, okay, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? So you've established yourself as one of the better fighters in Western Canada. You're on the national scene now. What's next?
So my goal is to make a career out of this. Eventually, I would like to go pro. I'm not totally tunnel vision on Muay Thai. It could, if something big came with, I haven't fought MMA personally, but if that were to happen and something was there, or if it was a kickboxing or something, I'm very open to it. But I'm just trying to make a career for this.
Right.
Yeah.
So a career in Muay Thai or a career in mixed martial arts, what would you prefer? Do you see yourself eventually in the UFC, which isn't crazy for Calgary fighters, right? Like Calgary-based fighters, Airdrie-based fighters. We've had Nick Ring, Akeem Dawodu, some really accomplished fighters have made it to that level. Is that something you aspire to?
Like I said, I've definitely never fought MMA before, right? But if it were to happen, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it. But I think my heart's kind of more with Muay Thai and kickboxing. Yeah. So, and then what's the highest level of Muay Thai? Like, is there a league? I mean, right now, like one championship is probably, the pinnacle. Yeah. Okay. So you see yourself fighting in one championship one day? Yeah. I've thought about it. That's totally great. Yeah. Okay. So came from a big family. What else should we know about you? What do you like outside of kickboxing and fighting? What do you do in your downtime? Well, I like to play games and watch, TV. I don't really like go out and do stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a homebody. Yeah. I kind of just hang out and chill at home. So a gamer who could kick your ass if it came down to it. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Damion, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Yeah, thank you. Let's get your fights out. So we have a fight in Ottawa. What date is that? It's March 5th? April 5th. April 5th. So where can people see that? Is that going to be televised? I know this gym does pay-per-view. Does their gym? Right now, I'm not sure. I don't really know too much about it. I'm sure there probably will be a pay-per-view. I just don't know yet. Okay. And then the Trial by Fire here, I know is pay-per-view. What's the date for that? Do we have a date set? I think it's May. Okay. But I don't know the exact date. So coming up in May, you can come to this gym on May 10th, I believe. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so May 10th, here at this gym, we can watch you fight. We can watch you live on pay-per-view. And at that point, we should have you with another belt at least, right?
Yeah. Or maybe that will be for another belt. So
that would be excellent.
That'd be sweet.
Again, there's so much great things going on in Airdrie. The trial by fire cards, the smoker cards here. A lot of people don't know that we're putting on pay-per-view level events here in our city. And so you don't need to go down to Calgary to see those. You can see them here in the city. What's it like fighting in front of a hometown crowd?
It's crazy, honestly. It's my favorite place to fight is my own gym.
Yeah.
Because everybody's cheering your name. It's the energy here is crazy.
Great.
Yeah. And it sells out. It gets so crazy.
Yeah, it's parking is chaotic. There's people on top of people standing on top everywhere. You see all the fighters up top. It's a great experience. And I really hope all of Airdrie comes out and supports you and lifts up our champions here in the city. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. And we'll be back with more episodes of Airdrie Inside. Thank you so much.